Dale, would you lead us in prayer?
Yes. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we give thanks for this opportunity to meet today for our Rotary Club. We ask your blessings on the club itself and the endeavors that we take. And we ask your blessing on each member here today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Nelson. Okay, Barry. Okay, we need to break this place in. We need to get the housing first purpose of Rotary. So let's make it to the people in the pool now. And we're singing.
R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. R-O-T-A-R-Y is known on land and sea. From north to south, from east to west, he profits most who serves the best. R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary.
As you may have noticed, we've changed locations on short notice. So the board has just met and voted to stay here for a month. We appreciate Natalie's for catering. Let's give Natalie a round of applause. It was good that she stepped up to help us on short notice, so we appreciate that. We will meet here for the rest of the month, and then we'll give you some options on where we can move, or we can maybe even consider staying here if we want to do that. Birthdays and anniversaries, don't see any except Amanda, who has been a member of this club for 7 years this week. Not your birthday, your anniversary with the club. So
8 years.
8 years. Well, got it wrong. Assistant
there,
wrong.
brother. Tag it up. Let's give her a hand.
Yeah. We have a busy week this week. On Thursday, March 15th at 10 a.m., we are participating with the City of Batesville in their Arbor Day event. And you'll remember that the Rotary International President challenged us to plant a tree for every member of the Rotary Club, and we will be doing that with the city on Thursday. So at 10 a.m., if you want to come to the Community Center, we are purchasing those trees, and the city will then plant them. And stick around and help plant the trees if you'd like to do that. Get your picture taken.
They're going to dig the hole.
They want us to dig the hole and get our picture taken digging the hole. So wear your Rotary stuff if you can. And I appreciate Donna. She'll be speaking for us. I won't be there and Dennis won't be there. So this Saturday is the Trap Shoe Tournament. If you have not sold any tickets, please help us sell some more tickets. I think we're doing fine. I know a lot of you turned in tickets today. Johnny, you're again the best ticket salesperson, I think. That's unofficial, but thanks for selling lots of tickets, Johnny.
That's my job.
But let's keep selling them. Let's make some good money that we can give for scholarships by raffling off this the lawnmower. If they come out on March 17th and help, I think there's a sign-up sheet that's been circulated. Community awards will be next month, not this month, so I won't worry about taking nominations yet, but that's coming up. And remember in May 19th is the district bike ride event that we're having here in Batesville. And Ron, you have a Sergeant at Arms report? Got food in your mouth? Okay. All right. Good. Amanda, Secretary report.
We have some students here today from Southside High School. If you guys would stand and introduce yourselves, we really appreciate it.
Well, my name didn't know the song. So we're going to have to teach it to them. My name is Peter Hicks, and I'm from Southside.
I'm Jason Allen, I'm also from Southside.
All right.
Like you said, the trap shoot is this Saturday. If you've got some free time and want to come out and help with the raffle, we're giving up on the silent auction this year. We're not doing that. We're not going to have a concession stand this year either. We're just going to let Fox Creek Barbecue handle all the food. But we will be selling raffle tickets that day for the mower, so if anybody can come out and pass this sheet around, just come out and help. And if you want to stay and help pass out the awards at the end, that would be appreciated. We still need some teams. I've had several people ask me what do you need the most for the trap shoot. I need a $350 sponsor. If anybody knows of any of their companies or anybody, right now we currently have 6 teams confirmed. We've never had less than 12 before. So I really need some more teams. I can find shooters to shoot for you all day long. I just need people that are willing to pay the $350 sponsorship to get those teams. As Barrett mentioned, the tree dedication is this Thursday morning at 10 here at the community center, and I think that's all I have.
Very good. Dwight had to leave, but I think that you all have received your invoices by now, and we were a little late sending them out, so you're about to get another invoice. Just so you know that they're coming. But if you haven't paid your previous invoice, please do that. Deanna's not here with service, but I think we had a decent turnout at our Help and Hope event last week. And they wanted me to announce that if you have a spring cleaning, Brenda's here. Brenda, you want to say something?
Yeah. One of our fundraisers that we do, our annual fundraisers, we take yard sale at the fairgrounds. When you're at home and you're doing spring cleaning, don't donate it, don't throw it out, save it for us, because we turn that into money for our scholarships, our Best Foot Forwards, all of our projects that we do. So while you're cleaning, save your job, because believe it or not, they buy everything, don't they? They buy everything. And the more stuff that we have, the more money we make. That's it.
Ryan, you want to say something about membership?
I do. Okay, so what we're going to try to do, two things. One is we would like if you could help us, okay, targeting potential people, okay, that you might know. You know, I don't know nearly as many people in Batesville in positions and things like that as y'all all do, obviously. So what we would like some help with is over the next few weeks, okay, we'd like to take just kind of some nominations of people or, you know, names, contact information, stuff like that. And then we're going to try to, one, send them an invitation to come and be with us. And also, we got a little team that was willing to maybe take them out for lunch and talk to them about what Rotary is and things like that, okay? So we're willing to do the selling if you're willing to provide the clients, right? So if you can help us with the clients, we're willing to do the selling and with that. And so, and then maybe a little bit later in the spring, we'll have a competition to see who can get us some names and things like that. But just over the next couple of weeks, help us with some targets, help us with some leads, and then we'll try to do the selling and the promotion and stuff like that from it. So.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan. On scholarships, you know, we've already given out our scholarships. I'll let you know the board just voted to create a new category for homeschooled students. We did have a homeschool student apply, so we decided to add a category moving forward. So if you know of any homeschool students in the future that would like to apply for a scholarship, we can have one for them here. Any other announcements for good of the club? Anybody? All right, well, Judge Cheney Taylor is here today. He probably doesn't need the introduction. Everyone knows Cheney, I'm sure, Judge Taylor. But he is a 1992 graduate of the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. He was our state representative here from 1999 through 2004. While he was a state representative, he served as the vice chair of the House Judiciary Committee. He's been our district judge since January of 2005. While as a district judge, he served on the Supreme Court Committee on Security and Emergency Preparedness. He implemented Arkansas's first sobriety court in July of 2009. And he served last year as the president of the Arkansas District Judges Council. He's married to Leah Taylor. I'm sure you all know Leah, and they have 4 beautiful children, Madison, Sophie, Ty, and Trey. Please join me in welcoming Judge Taylor.
First of all, let me start off by thanking Barrett for asking me to come and speak to you all today. I was trying to remember and thank all of y'all for staying too, by the way, after lunch. I was trying to remember the last time I spoke to this club, and I think I was state rep at that time, so that would have been sometime before 2005. So it's been quite a while since I've spoken to this group, but I've got some limitations on what I can say as judge. We can't talk about issues, we can't talk about certain things, but we can talk about the judicial system and how we can improve it and things that are currently happening to improve it and those kinds of things. I do have a couple of handouts I'm going to pass around. I'm going to talk about these later in my presentation. I've only got one of each. I apologize for that. These are the only ones I have, but I'm going to pass these around and let y'all take a look at these as I'm speaking. And I will talk about those more in just a few minutes. And the first thing I'm going to start out with is the history of the Arkansas Judiciary. And on July the 4th, 1819, which was right after the Louisiana Purchase was completed. Arkansas was made a territory. We got the boundaries organized and so forth. And as most, if not all of you know, Arkansas became a state in 1836. Our sister state, some of you may not know this, is Michigan. They came into the Union about the same time that we did, and so they are considered to be our sister state. James Conway was our first governor. I think y'all know the city of Conway is named after him. And I will tell you, we've got several bankers in the audience. I know that Governor Conway set up a lot of the early banking laws and the banking system and so forth. He was kind of responsible for getting that going. In 1836, there were 3 Supreme Court justices that were elected by the Arkansas General Assembly. And that stayed, it stayed with 3 of them until 1899. There was an Arkansas Constitution that was put together in 1874 and ratified by the voters in the General Assembly. And that also included 3, and it stayed 3 until 1899 when they added 2, and that brought the total to 7 justices. I'm sorry, 5. And in 1925, there were 2 more added to make a total of 7, and that's how many we have today. I will tell you, some of you may be asking, what do judges do? What does their power include? And I think Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes described it best when he described judicial power as that which declares and enforces liabilities as they stand on present or past facts and under existing laws. And I think that kind of captures, it's a very broad description, but it just kind of captures what judges do. The Arkansas judicial system has 3 layers to it. At the top are 2 appellate courts, and I'm going to talk more about each of those in just a moment. But we have the Supreme Court, 7 justices I just mentioned, and we also have what's called the Arkansas Court of Appeal. We also have the next level. This is where most people consider to be what's called the trial level, and those are the circuit courts. There are 121 circuit judges around the state, and I believe 28 districts, and I'll talk about ours in just a minute. And then at the bottom layer where I serve is the district courts, and those are misdemeanor crimes, and I'll talk about our division in just a minute. But those are the 3 layers of the Arkansas judicial system. And the Supreme Court has supervisory power over all of those layers. The biggest change that we've seen in recent years to the judiciary was Amendment 80, which was passed by the Arkansas voters in the year 2000. It became effective in July 2001. And basically what that did is it revised the judicial article of the Arkansas Constitution. Act 1185 of 2003 basically set up the statutory structure for how it was going to be handled and set up and so forth. And the main thing it did was it established nonpartisan election of judges. Judges don't run with a party label. They don't run as a Democrat, Libertarian, or Republican, or anything like that. They're all nonpartisan. It set up uniform qualifications in terms of office, 8 years for the appellate court, 6 years for the circuit court, and 4 years at the district court level where I serve. And one of the things that Amendment 80 was also designed to do was to set up a kind of a statewide uniform rule. Before, Amendment 80 would go to one court, it would be one set of rules. You go to another court, there might be another set of rules, and it was just a mishmash of rules. So one thing that Amendment 80 was designed to do was to kind of set uniform rules across the state. The Arkansas Supreme Court has jurisdiction of this list. I won't go through each of them, but let me hit a few of the high ones. Basically, it involves, their jurisdiction involves anything that has to do with the Arkansas Constitution. If there's a squabble about anything, any of the amendments or any of the provisions in it, that has automatic Supreme Court jurisdiction. Also, criminal appeals where you've had a life sentence imposed or a death sentence imposed. Supreme Court gets jurisdiction on those. Anything to do with elections or election procedures, processes, those kind of things. Issues of first impression. The lawyers in the room know what I'm talking about on this, but these are issues that have never been decided in a court of law. Those are called issues of first impression. Anything where you've got an inconsistency between a Supreme Court decision and a Court of Appeals decision, believe it or not, that does happen. They do have different outcomes. Barrett can tell you that too. They do disagree sometimes. Also issues of significant public interest, and anything to do with the construction or validity of an act of the Arkansas General Assembly, a city ordinance, or any kind of rule or regulation that comes from a state agency. Now, the Arkansas Court of Appeals, basically their jurisdiction is just about everything else, including civil, motor vehicle accidents, any kind of contract disputes, property disputes, landlord tenant law, criminal cases other than what I just mentioned for the Supreme Court, anything to do with domestic relations, probate disputes, anything involving a will or an estate or guardianship, something like that. Also, juvenile cases that involve defendants that are under 18. Any kind of appeal that comes from an administrative agency, and I've got down there DWS, that's the Department of Workforce Services, that's what we used to call the unemployment department, but it's DWS and the WCC, that is the workers' comp. I would say the Court of Appeals here is probably more of those kind of cases than anything else. There are a lot of cases that get appealed on unemployment and workers' comp cases, so they hear a lot of those. The Supreme Court, as I've mentioned, has 7 justices. I have them listed up here. As most of you know, 2 of them are from our area. Justice Joe Hart and Judge Kemp are both from Mountain View. Sean Womack is from nearby Mountain Home. The rest of them are scattered around the rest of the state. And the Chief Justice is John Dean Kemp. He was our circuit judge here for about 30 years, and he got elected to as Chief Justice, I believe, in was it 16, I believe, 2016. He took office last year, January of 2017. They are all elected statewide. There is a general election. This is the kind of weird thing. We think of general elections being in November when you have the parties have made their nominees and the main primaries, and then they go to the November election. But that's not the case with judges. In judges, the general election is in May. A lot of people don't understand that, but that's the way the Arkansas legislature set it up. As I mentioned, judges run under a nonpartisan label. Appellate judges have 8-year terms. Their jurisdiction that I've just talked about comes under, found in Rule 1.2 of the rules of the Arkansas Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court does have superintending rule over all Arkansas courts. And the way that works is every 2 years, all circuit judges and all district court judges have to set up what's called an administrative plan, and that has to be sent to the Arkansas Supreme Court for their approval. The Arkansas Court of Appeals initially was set up by, Amendment 58, which was passed in 1978, set up 6 Court of Appeals judges, and they were appointed by the governor. Because at that time, the caseload for the Arkansas Supreme Court was growing so fast, they just couldn't keep up with everything. So they set up a second court, the Arkansas Court of Appeals. Then in 1996, there were 3 additional judges that were appointed by the governor. That brought it to a total of 9. And then in 1997, there were 3 more. That brought it to a total of 12, including 1 chief, which is how many we have today. And the chief is a lady by the name of Rita Gruber, and I think Justice Kemp did that. He appointed her as chief of the Court of Appeals. Now this is one difference between the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals, and that is the Court of Appeals justices are elected by district. We are in District 2. District 2 is comprised of Aiken County in North Arkansas. It stretches all the way, I think, from Pocahontas down to Russellville and
Conway, yeah.
Conway, yes, and all those counties in between. It's a big, big geographical area. Some of them are smaller districts in South Arkansas. There are 5 districts that have, including ours, that have 2, and then there's 2 districts that just have 1 judge, for a total of 12. They also serve 8-year terms, and Independence County, as I mentioned, we're in District 2. Our 2 judges are Justice Bart Burden from Morrilton and Mike Murphy from Conway. Now to the circuit courts. These are what most people think of as trial courts. There are 121 judges, circuit judges, and there's their original jurisdiction. All justiciable matters not otherwise assigned pursuant to the Arkansas Constitution, plus appellate jurisdiction from all county, district, and city courts. So anything that's decided here locally, out of my court or out of forum court or anything like that, goes to circuit courts on the first level. There are 28 circuits. I don't know how many of them are multi-county. We have 5 counties in ours. There are some that are single county districts. In fact, there are some districts around the state that are split counties. cases. They have, it'll be like the Eastern District and Western District. Now, each circuit has an administrative judge also. They do things like scheduling, determining the judge's schedule so you're not overlapping each other in the courtrooms, and they also set up the administrative plan that I just talked about. We are in the 16th Judicial District that encompasses 5 counties. Independence, Cleveland, Stone, Fulton, and Hidden counties are our 5. We have 4 circuit judges here, and they do all kinds of cases, criminal, juvenile, civil, and domestic relations and probate cases. Now, this is where I serve, in the district court level. These used to be called municipal courts, and they had other names. There were city courts and police courts and a whole mishmash of different kinds around the state, but they're all now called district courts. And we have 4 divisions. Criminal, this is misdemeanor cases only. Civil jurisdiction, this is cases where you have attorneys involved or you have an institution like a collection agency or a bank or a hospital, something like that. And I have jurisdiction up to $25,000, but those are contract disputes or property damage cases only. I also have a traffic division. Those are like driver's license cases, and people get stopped and driving on suspended license, something like that, vehicle registration, seatbelt things, and that kind of stuff. And by the way, Arkansas does require everyone to wear their seatbelt now in the front seat, and I believe anybody under 15 has to have it on in the back seat. So that's the kind of cases I see. And also, I have a small claim division, which is individuals only, no attorneys or institutions are allowed. This is just 2 individuals, and my jurisdiction there is limited to $5,000 less. Now, this is called the JRAC. It's called the Judicial Resources Assessment Committee. What they do, this was set up by Act 864 of 1989. What they do is they study caseloads around the state and the circuit courts. They look and see how many cases each judge has, how long they're taking to dispose of cases, and they determine populations. They look at all that stuff, and then they decide if there's a new judge needed over here, maybe one, they got too many here, those kinds of things. That's what they look at, but it's called JRAC. Their members are appointed by the Judicial Council, which is made up of circuit judges, and so that's what the JRAC does. There's another board called the District Court Resources Assessment Board, and it has 11 members. There's the makeup of that committee, and they basically do the same thing on the district court level. And I will tell you that my position, I'm not up for re-election again until 2 years, but when I run again in 2 years, in 2020, there will be 2 counties added to our area. We're going to get Fulton County and Edgewood County, and then the other 2 counties in our circuit district, Cleveland County and Stone County, will be added to another district. So there's going to be some shifting there.
Just at the district court level, Judge, or the circuit court level too?
This is just at the district court level. The circuit court level, the circuit court district will remain the same, yes.
Shady, where do you meet? Where does your court meet?
We are all the way down at the end of Main Street, right next to the jail. If you go all the way down Main Street, you cannot go any further. That's where we're right there on the left.
Not where municipal court used to be in the old post office.
No, that is Judge Lee Harrod's court now. He is the juvenile judge. That's where he holds court. They still have a courtroom there, but that is the old federal courtroom. But Judge Lee Harrod has that now.
Yeah.
I will tell you kind of real quickly, my courthouse was built when David White was the judge. There was a jail tax passed, and I think it took him 3 tries to get that passed. But he finally got it passed, and they had some money left over from building the jail, and that's what they used to build my courthouse. But it's all the way down at the end of Main Street.
Yeah. It's a nice courtroom.
It is. They did a good job on it. Now, I want to kind of shift gears here and talk a little bit about what are called specialty or problem-solving courts. And these are specialty dockets designed to handle certain kinds of cases and really target a problem rather than just putting someone in jail and forgetting about them. There are different kinds. Drug courts, most of those are at the circuit level. Currently, there are 39 drug courts around the state. These apply to felony drug users and addicts. If you are a drug distributor or seller, you are not eligible for the drug court. This is targeted specifically towards users and addicts on the low level. I have as Barrett mentioned, I have a DWI or sobriety course that I started in 2009. These are designed for repeat offenders. And I'm going to give you an example of the kind of folks that we target for our program. I came across this story a few weeks ago, and it's a Minnesota man charged with DWI for the 28th time. 28 DWIs. Now, I don't know about y'all, but this man should have either been in jail or been in a program after that many. And not only that, but he had a valid driver's license, which is astounding to me. But this was in Minnesota, it wasn't right here in Arkansas. But these are the kind of folks, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute, about the repeat offenders. And also there are veterans courts. There are some, Judge Miriam McGowan has a veterans court in Little Rock, and I think there's one or two more around the state, but there's others that are in the works right now. Same thing with mental health courts and domestic violence family courts. There's several in the works right now. Veterans courts are targeted specifically veterans. A lot of veterans that come back from especially combat duty, they have issues, as we all know. Dennis, I think you deal with that some too, but a lot of times they come back and they have a hard time dealing with the issues that they're facing when they come back home. And so veterans courts are designed to get them into the resources that are available, get them the help they need, get them housing, education, whatever it might be. Okay, DWI courts, what are they? First of all, it's a team approach. It's not just me. I have the final say-so, but I have a team of folks that we run these cases by. The prosecutor, we have a defense attorney, we have treatment folks, law enforcement, and probation, and even folks from the community. Now, the targeted population, we don't put everybody that gets a DWI in our program because not everybody that gets a DWI needs the program. The people that we target are the ones that what I call the hardcore repeat offenders, that no matter what you do to them, you can put them in jail for 6 months, you can put them in jail for a year, and when they get out, they're going to go right back to doing what they were doing before, just like this fellow did. So we target these folks, and typically we target only second and third offenders. About the research tells us that about 2/3 of people who get a DWI the first time they're not going to offend again. They learn their lesson, they go to jail, it's embarrassing, and that's enough. And they have to pay fines, sometimes hire an attorney, those kinds of things. That's enough for them. It's that other 1/3 of the population that, again, no matter what you do to them, they're going to offend again. So those are the ones that we're trying to target. What we do in the program is we hold them accountable. They have to, I'm going to talk about the phases in just a minute, but we impose sanctions for their negative behavior, and the research, believe this or not, is showing that rewards for positive behavior oftentimes is more effective than sanctions for negative behavior. I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Our program is 1 year long. It's 4 phases of 13 weeks each, and each phase gets progressively easier. If they do what they're supposed to do, if they attend their meetings, they have negative drug tests, and they do everything they're supposed to do, then they can advance through the phases, and each one gets progressively easier on the requirements that they have to do. This is a list of the sanctions that we use. We consider a missed or positive drug or alcohol test as usually on the first offense. Oftentimes it's just 48 hours in jail. If they have a job, we will try to work with them on that. And that's one of the beauties of this program. We try to keep people employed, keep them paying the bills rather than putting them in jail at taxpayer expense. But we test them. We test them frequently. We test them often to make sure they're staying clean. If they miss their treatment again, the first offense, that's usually a 48-hour stay in jail. And there's no due process to this either. If they come in, they test positive, they know right then they're going to jail. It's right then. It's like one of the teachers we had said, that lightning has to come down right then from the bench. You can't wait a week or 2 or 3 or something like that to impose a sanction. It's just not as effective as doing it right then. Now, if they get a new non-alcohol offense, we handle those individually. We'll talk about that as a team. We'll get input from everybody on the team and kind of just take those on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes they may have to do some community service. We also do what's called a court sit. And I'll explain to you what that is. We sometimes will require people to come and sit in court on the front row and listen to all the lame excuses people come in there and give me on things. And it's very effective, so. The thing the researchers have told us about the sanctions, they have to be swift, like I said, they have to be immediate, but they also have to be fair. You can't just impose a harsh penalty on a minor little thing. We know these people have a problem, we know they're going to have relapses, and I think Dennis is the expert here, but he can tell you, he's smiling back there because he knows what I'm talking about. We expect them to have relapses, but you can't just punish them harshly for a minor relapse. But what we try to do is get them to call. We tell them, okay, if you have a weak moment, please call your treatment person, call your sponsor, call one of us, do something. Just don't go out and have an episode, but sometimes that does happen. Sanctions ought to have to be certain. When you put the program, when they enter the program, they sign a contract, and they understand on the front end what's going to happen if they have an episode. We never use treatment as a sanction. We do. Sometimes folks will enter the program and they may need more treatment for various reasons. Maybe they have relapse, maybe they're not making as much progress as they need to, those kinds of things. And we do impose more treatment, but we never use that as a sanction. Anything less than a new DWI charge, you will probably be able to stay in the program. But a new DWI charge, that is the one cardinal sin that you will not get a second chance on. That is automatic termination from the program. You will go and do your jail time. Now, the researchers tell us that rewards, as I mentioned earlier, are just as important as sanctions. We have found that a lot of these folks that come through the program, they have never had so much as a congratulations or anything. A lot of these folks have just come up hard ways, and sometimes things are just as simple as a round of applause from the room. You would not believe the emphasis they place on that. Sometimes they'll get a piece of paper, we give little certificates when they move from one page to the next, and they place a huge, huge emphasis on that. It's very significant in their lives. But like I said, a lot of these folks have never had any kind of rewards at all in their lives. At the end, we also consider reducing or suspending some of their fines. That's a huge benefit also. And as I mentioned, they sometimes will get certificates when they phase up or graduate. Anybody that comes into the program has an assessment done, and this is called a clinical assessment. It's not just a little where they sit down and just ask a few questions. It's more in depth than that. And basically, this has to be done by a licensed clinical therapist, and it's an in-depth look at their past history, their mental health status, their family situation, their work situation, their past behavior, all of that. And it basically gives us a roadmap on where we need to go with this person. How much treatment do they need? How often do they need to be seen by the court? How often do they need to be drug and alcohol tested? That kind of thing. So that gives us a roadmap. Now, the proximal goal, we call in our program, is to show up and be honest. If you show up for your treatment sessions and you show up to court, you show up for your drug testing, all that kind of thing, that's what we expect you to do. Yeah, everybody can do that. Even if you've got transportation issues, which a lot of these folks do, because the first thing that happens when they get one of these charges, they lose the license. But oftentimes they'll have a family member, a friend, or somebody that can take them in. We just want you to show up. Second thing, and everybody can do this too, be honest. And you would not believe the stories that we hear. Sometimes, oh, I don't know how I tested positive. Somebody must have put it in my drink, or I don't know how that happened. You know, we just hear every kind of story you can imagine. So the two simple things that we ask for on the front end is show up and be honest. Our distal goal is to get them completely sober. If we can't do that, and we've had people tell us, well, I'm not going to drink while I'm in this program because y'all won't let me, but I'm going to start drinking when I get out again. I'm just not going to drive when I'm drinking. And that is, we consider that to be a win. We try to get them not to drink and drive anymore. Are we running short?
I think we're just about out of time, Judge.
Okay, I'll wrap it up here. These are the phases, as I mentioned, phase 1 through 4. If they go through all those, as you can see, requirements become less and less as they go through up and then they graduate. And we make a big deal about their graduation. They get a certificate, we have ceremony, we have food and drinks and whatnot. I won't go through all of this, but let me just share with you one statistic that I got this morning from NHTSA. And for those of y'all that don't know about NHTSA, it is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. According to NHTSA, in 2016, there were 10,497 deaths from alcohol impaired driving crashes in 2016. Over 10,000 folks. Now that's improvement over years past. In years past, back in the 60s, 70s, and I think even early into the early 80s, it was up around 30,000. We got it down to just over 10, but that's still way too many. And as you can see, this has a huge economic impact and a lot of unnecessary things. One other thing, let me share with you real quickly. 94% of motor vehicle crashes are due not to mechanical failure or anything like that. They're due to human error. 94%. That means that 94% crashes out there are preventable. And that's the kind of thing that we're trying to address. Only 6% of auto crashes are due to some kind of mechanical failure, or tire blowing out, or brakes failing, or something like that. So cars are safe, people are not. Okay, as I mentioned, the DWI courts are proven budget solutions. We can keep people out of jail, keep them working, keep them with their families and that kind of thing. I won't go over all of this. This is what it is in Arkansas. Misdemeanors, if you have 3 DWIs within 5 years, those are all misdemeanors. But once you get to that 4th within 5, it becomes a felony. I checked this morning, that 68 number is wrong. I did that about a year ago. The number is, as of this morning, it was 76 people in the Arkansas Department of Corrections for DWI. So as you can see, they're a little bit on the rise. The first program was implemented right here in River City in 2009. And we had my friend Butch Hale in Sherwood started his program shortly after he saw what was happening here, and then one in Hot Springs started not long after that. And today there's around 11 programs operating around the state, and there's a list of them right there. And there's in all of those programs there's roughly around 200 or so participants. And also there's a committee that was set up by the Arkansas legislature to kind of oversee all of these programs and make sure everybody's on the same page with everything and doing things correctly. This is NHTSA that I talked about. They do a lot of things. They deal with a lot of auto safety issues, as you can see, seat belts and a whole host of things. But one of the things that they also do is they reach out to states and give money for highway safety programs. In fact, our money that we are getting for our program is coming through them. It doesn't come directly from them. It comes through our highway safety office that's set up with the state police. But they have grants available. And we are in NHTSA Region 7, which is Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska. And they also have a what's called the Judicial Outreach Liaison Program, which works with the ABA to reach out to judges and let them know about all these programs. Now, in conclusion, as you can see, I've come to the conclusion after many years of sometimes that experience that you cannot come to any conclusion at all. So with that, I will close and I'll open it up for any questions if anybody has any. I know I've covered a lot of material here very quickly, but if anybody has any questions, my contact information is right there. If you think it's something that you leave here, please contact me. I'll be glad to get you the answer if I can. Any questions?
Do all of the district courts meet in Batesville, or do they have one in other counties?
There are district courts in every county in the state.
And you go and are the district judge, like in Izard County or wherever?
I only have one county now. I only cover, my jurisdiction is only Independence County, but as I said, in 2 years, I would pick up 2 other counties. And then the district judge in Cleveland County is going to pick up 2 counties. He's going to pick up 1 county. It'll be a 2-county district.
The district, even though it's several counties, there are several judges also.
Right now, yes. Yes, that's correct.
Part-time judges. right? There's some part-time judges in that right now.
That's
in Fulton
right,
County.
that's right. And they're trying to phase all of those to be full-time judges. But there are some counties that have multiple courts. For instance, Cleveland County has a court in Heber Springs, there's one in Quitman, there's one in Grass Ferry, one in Concord. So that judge has several courts that he travels around to. But my jurisdiction is just right here. Now, I do hear other cases. I hear cases in Newark and Pleasant Plains and Sulphur Rock and those kind of things, but it's all right here in Batesville.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank
Amanda has our Joker draw ticket.
Okay.
She'll pick our winner. Major point of interest here.
It's short.
Yes. Okay, 231-8624. 8624, Audrey? We're gonna look at the last one. Thank you.
Let me give you some advice. It's in there. Judge, we have a literacy project too, so we'll donate a book in your honor to the local library, just so you know.
Through all this?
Any other announcements for good of the club, community? If not, we'll limit the four-way test. Number 1,
Is it the truth?
number 2,
Is it fair to all concerned?
number 3,
Will it be beneficial?
and number 4, beneficial